Youth Day is upon us. Youth Month, rather, is upon us. And every year in June, we are compelled to reflect and take stock. Are we living the dream, or should we wake up and smell the coffee? Is this the future the generation of 1976 envisioned?
Young people have solidified themselves as a force to be reckoned with. And 45 years ago, through their eruptive revolution, and since then, the youth of 76 has been the model child of how young people in a country should be, right?
Mm-hmm.
They will forever be known. They will forever be known as the generation that took it upon themselves to stand up against oppression, confront the status quo,
Mm-hmm.
and challenge the system.
Mm.
And a youth that believed in education as a true liberator.
Mm-hmm.
A youth that has a strong sense of accountability, that knows the value of hard work.
Mm-hmm. A truly ambitious youth that knew its worth and fought for it, not only for themselves, but the future generations to come. Fast forward to 4.5 decades later, and here we are. A youth that is described by our elders as lazy. A youth that is delusional, intoxicated, unemployed, vastly uneducated, uninspired, and entitled. The complete opposite of our forefathers, if you ask me. But is this a fair judgment, Sandy? Are we really the nightmare? And if so, whose fault is it? And how do we remedy the situations? Are our elders expecting too much of us?
But I think before we actually talk about our elders and what they expect of us, if we lazy and what was the mandate of the youth of 76?
I think it's quite simple, but complex at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
The simplest way is liberation. Liberation through education, because the true liberator is education, and they had a deep understanding of that, and they were deprived of that. And now how they actually fought for it was the fact that actually the genesis of the entire uprising was the fact that South Africa was a bilingual nation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the official languages were English and Dutch, which later on became Afrikaans, the letter, that is, right? So Afrikaans is difficult, right? Majority of the country is black, and we struggled understanding Afrikaans. So now the white regime saw a decline in people's preference of Afrikaans, and people flocked to English. And therefore, as a preservation of Afrikaans, that's when they implemented it and institutionalized it and made it part of the medium of instruction, forcing people to learn in Afrikaans.
And I think we had a conversation a bit earlier on that already maths is difficult. Science is difficult as it is. Biology is difficult as it is. And now you are this black South African, Zulu, and you have no idea, you don't understand an ounce of Afrikaans, and yet you need to write an exam or understand science. What are you trying to, now you're trying to understand the language first. So that means you need to understand Afrikaans first before the actual
subject matter.
At hand. So I think that's what they were actually fighting for. See, actually, can we not be educated in our preferred language, right?
Right. So it was quite daunting, because now you're focusing on trying to understand this Afrikaans that is very difficult over the subject matter.
Exactly.
By the time you go onto the subject matter, it's already too late. Amongst other things, the quality of Bantu education was absolutely poor, because it conditioned black people to be servants to our Caucasian counterparts. So what was the point of educating a black person if their fate is to be a servant, right?
But I think they never.
So that's what they had in mind.
That's what they had in mind, and they never saw evolution happening. Because like now we've evolved, but fast forward to 2021 to 2019, from 2019 2020, when we saw fees must fall. Because now we are having a similar conversation. We're talking about education just from a different perspective, right? So what are we fighting for now with fees must fall? It's still education, but now we're fighting for free education.
We're fighting for free education because free education, like I said, is the true liberator.
Yes.
And now it's quite daunting that we are fighting a similar struggle, where the subject matter is education, but in different perspectives. And what's quite interesting as well is that the people who are in the position of power, the people who are able to structure the country, the people who are architects of the country, right, are the people who suffered under the apartheid regime. And now that they're in the position of power, they are not putting away hurdles for us, especially Black people, and they're making it harder for us to access that is education, because education is still not free. And how are we supposed to be liberated, and how are we supposed to live the vision of 1976 if we cannot be educated?
And I think as well, maybe back then there was no like private schools for Black people. It was just like public school. You are Black, you go to the school. Yes, you don't have to pay for it, but this is the education we are offering you.
And they were underfunded.
And the education was really bad. And now, fast forward to 2021. Fast forward, we've got private schools, we've got all these options, but they're expensive, and you need to pay for them. If you want the best education, you must pay for it. But yet, so you ask yourself, was the problem solved? Yes, it was solved partially. It was solved, but another problem was created, if you think about it.
Which one is it?
Because if you think about it, yes, the whole thing of not being educated in Afrikaans versus over your mother tongue. Now you have those kind of options, right? Which was the struggle that they were fighting for in the 76. Now you have this option. Okay, yes, I have. There's this education, but this education is not of best quality. So now I want to take my child to maybe, for example, I want to take my child to a private school. Private schools are not free. We all know that if you want to go to a private school, you must be moneyed. And then if you go to varsity as well, it's not free. So are we liberated? Are we still liberated? Because yes, we are fighting the struggle for being educated in your mother tongue, and a broader spectrum of education, and being able to see a bigger picture of education and allowing yourself to have a brighter future. Yes, that struggle was partially won. But guys, let's tell the truth. If we go to varsity now, what are you being educated in isiZulu?
I mean,
Ispedi.
It's quite unfair, right? Seeing that Afrikaans students have the option, especially in my university. Afrikaans students have the option of either studying towards their degree in their home language or in English, whereas we have only English as an option, and we don't quite have our home language as an option to study with. But now that we are done with that, I just want to get onto this, right? We are considered as a lazy generation.
That's another
2021. Why do you think that is?
I think we are considered a lazy generation because we have everything on our lap, right? For example, we have what we call technology. We have what we call, instead of washing with our hands, we have washing machines. Instead of washing the dishes with your hands, we have dishwashers. Technology has evolved, and as the people that are living and are alive, the generation that is alive in this day and age, we've adapted to that kind of lifestyle. So it does not necessarily mean that I am lazy if I am applying on my phone and I'm looking for a job on Peanuts and I'm on my phone versus going to door around Josie, trying to submit my CV, So I think for our elders, when they look at us, we come across as lazy. And I think they're not trying to actually know what is happening. They're not trying to evolve, probably. Please. But all I'm saying is that it's just that life has become easier as well. We're not lazy. I don't think we're lazy.
I mean, considering, I think the connotation of our current youth being lazy would stem from the fact that the youth of 76 laid their lives, for our freedom, for our opportunities, right?
Youth of today would not lay their lives for nobody.
Right. So now, fast forward to democracy, we have all of these options. We have all of these opportunities, right? And our parents feel like we are not utilizing them, and we're taking the freedom that we got for granted because we don't quite understand and comprehend what it took the price that they paid in order for us to be free as we are right now. So I think that's where it comes from. I think it also comes from the fact that the lifestyle that we live.
Yes.
Do you understand? For some reason, our lifestyle is so barbaric, it's so wild, it's so reckless. Savannas everywhere, partying. I think our parents think we are more consumed with partying,
Yes.
with a certain type of lifestyle, and we don't quite understand the value of work towards a certain amount, a certain way of living, and we don't quite understand the value of work and what it takes. So we are quite entitled, and we don't know the value of hard work.
But you know what I think as well? In as much as we might compare the youth of 76 and the youth of today, I think the youth of today, they are losing track of what really happened in 1976 simply because of the maybe not education, maybe information is not shared enough. Even though the information is everywhere, but they have different priorities. They struggle. And I'm not saying it's wrong, and I'm not saying it's right. A youth in 76, their struggle is completely different to a youth of today. The struggle is different. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's also the responsibility of perhaps our parents, perhaps the media as well, instead of pushing Ukdagwa and Bryce and whatever, maybe try to push a documentary of what really happened. But I think they do actually, let me not.
It's Sarafina month there by ETV, you know?
Yeah?
It's a Sarafina festival. It's a Sarafina month there by ETV.
And I'm sure you're going to see Sarafina. One of these days it's going to be like, bah, in your face. I'm definitely sure.
Yeah, it's
so
month.
I think maybe it's also about empowering knowledge. But to be quite honest, the youth of today, their priorities are different. They really don't have the same priorities that a youth that had in 76. Their priorities are different because times have changed, times have evolved. And I think they also have different values. You know, generations, they change. You know, every generation will change. Every generation will change. So I think it's just one of those. Priorities are not the same.
Listen, I think it's very unfair for us to really compare our current youth and the youth of 1976 purely because we live in different times and we face different hurdles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that our country, our youth in our country is doing the best it can considering the circumstances, considering the structural hurdles that people have to go through. You know, we know that the true liberation is through economic freedom, right? And the only way to access that is through education. So now how do you access that when you have like a gateway, right? And you would take a look at the unemployment rate right now, right?
Yes.
It's staggering at a rate of 32.6% of unemployed people, you know, and unemployed, most of the population consists of young people. Do you understand? So young people are not empowered
at all.
So young people will then resort to substance abuse because they're bored, they're unemployed, you know. There are mental health issues and stuff like that.
And I think those that are working, they're so pressurized at work to perform and all of that. As soon as there's a holiday of Youth Day, they want to drink, you know, relax.
Exactly. So I think that's where the connotation comes from. You know, we are seen as not doing anything, but we're doing something.
But behind closed doors, we are actually doing a lot.
Yeah, we are actually doing a lot. Look at the likes of Theo Baloyi, you know, the owner of Batu.
You know?
Look at Zozibini Tunzi, our ancestors' wildest dream. Do you think Hector Peterson would have imagined a black woman from Eastern Cape to pronka like a peacock in international stages?
But I think maybe it could be tribute, or it could be tribute to what happened in 76. They did open doors. That we can't take that away from the youth of 76. They opened doors that were never opened.
Yeah,
doors
we
that
cannot
would
discredit
still be
it.
closed if they didn't actually fight, you know?
Yeah.
So I think fast forwarding to Fees Must Fall, hopefully maybe in the next 40 odd years, we'll be having a different conversation about education and free education as well.
Yeah.
But I also want us to also talk about what went wrong. What do you think went wrong did something actually go wrong between then and now?
I mean, what went wrong is the fact that we were promised a lot of things and those things haven't materialized. And we try our very hard, we tried our very best, right? But we can't really get over the hurdles and the structural hurdles that have been put upon us as Black people. So in conclusion, I would like to say that we are really trying our best. Looking at the fact that the youth of 76 fought for freedom, we also fought for freedom, for free education.
And we can also
right?
see
We are we are trying to combat unemployment by being business people. You know, we are trying our level best considering the circumstances that we are in. So I would like to say,
as we wrap it up,
be a little lenient on us. Please.
Please.
Yes, and happy Youth Month.
Happy Youth Month.
Getting away, cause I don't want to. I'm stuck on you, and I ain't complaining. Bring me serenity, bring me joy, yeah, you bring me peace, my happy place. Every day, I won't predict you. You bring something new, so stimulating. Everything I ever really wanted, you possess it all. Getting away, cause I don't want to. Bring me serenity, bring me joy. Every day, I won't predict you. Every day, I ever really wanted. Cause when I look into your eyes, I see a beautiful soul. And whenever I'm around
Blesser versus a sugar daddy. Are you a sugar daddy or are you a blesser? In 2021 has the terminology blesser and sugar daddy is the terminology the same? Remember how sugar daddy was so popular back in the 80s and in the 90s, and now in recent years we are hearing of a blesser, you know. I mean, a blesser in South Africa is kind of like a sugar daddy. He's an older man who often has multiple girlfriends, um, and offers a lavish lifestyle and gifts in exchange for sexual favors and companionship. The term blesser first emerged on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and those men became known as blessers. The blesser and blessee phenomena has been prominent in South African media since the year 2016. This is a form of transactional sex in which older rich tend to entice young women with money and expensive gifts in exchange of sexual favors again.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there a difference between a sugar daddy and a blesser? Cool.
Well, I thought there was, but it seems like I was wrong because here's the
New
thing,
age.
right? I thought so now they're used interchangeably, and
Yeah.
my perception was that a sugar daddy is an older man who sponsors you financially, who supports you financially, right? In
And that's a sugar
exchange for
daddy.
sexual favors.
Uh-huh.
Now, a blesser is you. It doesn't matter what age they are, so long as they have
The
money
money.
and
Bless you.
to bless you in exchange
To
for
make it
sexual favor.
rain.
So that was the difference for me. That's what I thought, but I suppose
But it
I was
has
wrong.
transpired that blesser is more of a new age
A term,
terminology
yeah.
of sugar daddy. So there's no difference between sugar daddy and
I
blesser.
guess there isn't, but the nature of the relationship, one would say that it's because now you are doing sexual favors in return for financial support
Mhm.
or financial return. One would say that's sophisticated prostitution.
I think it is in a way, but then we ask ourselves, is it a good thing? Is it a good thing to have a blesser or a sugar daddy? Is it something that you'd want your daughter one day to
Hell
have?
no, bruh. No, I think it's a very bad thing because it's an environment that marginalizes people who venture in it, especially the ones who provide the sexual favor. Who are mostly women,
Woman, yes.
right? I feel like they are put in a position of vulnerability, a dental in
Definitely.
distress, because now this person who is a blesser or a blessee comes with money. That is his power. He's able to control you because of money. So he has captured you because of money. And all you do is you just have to,
You must dance to his
appease
music.
him sexually. So
yes.
where's the freedom in that?
There is no
Where's the liberation in
no
that?
liberation.
I think relationships with such dynamics also exacerbate things like gender-based violence, because now you can stay in that relationship and it's going to be very difficult for you to detach from that relationship, because now where are you going to get your money?
But I think as well, yes, we can easily say it's a bad thing. But I think, in as much as prostitution, people find themselves in certain situations because of life situations. I'm not necessarily saying that it's a good thing to have a blesser or it's a bad thing, but I'm also being realistic about the fact that sometimes you do find yourself in a corner where you are perhaps have been trying to find a job for years and you're
now
not finding it, and maybe the pressures of life are upon you and you're finding alternative ways to survive. I think for most people, or not, maybe not most, but for some people, it is a survival mechanism for them. They find this old man, this man will offer them this lavish lifestyle And sometimes it's not even lavish. Maybe this sugar daddy or a blesser will offer them money for obviously sexual favors, which is unfortunate because I think sex is a very it's a special thing between two people that care for each other.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Is sex still sentimental in 2021?
Yes.
It's just a physical act, you know?
Yeah, but I think that's what I'd still like to believe, even though it's not so sentimental anymore. But it's very sad when you find yourself in a situation where you have to do sexual favors for somebody, even when you're not in the mood, and they expect the most from you to do all these things that they wouldn't dare ask their wife, because some of them are married. They wouldn't dare ask their wives to do those moves, and you are unfortunately in this situation, and you'll have to do the most simply because this person is giving you money and they're helping you survive and they're doing all these favors for you that nobody else can actually help you out with.
This is what I mean when I say that it marginalizes women and it disempowers them.
It does.
Because now I've heard stories. Do you remember the book by Jackie Pamudze that was very famous called Bear? I think it's the record of the hockey club or something like that, right? So, well, I'm not gonna get into what the book is about and stuff like that, but basically it's the dynamics of a blesser blessee kind of a relationship and how people find themselves in such situations, and sometimes it's not by choice, it's by economic standing. Like you said, you know, you come from a very impoverished background, an unprivileged background, and you're really trying to survive, and here's a man who has all the finances and who's able to, you know, finance your life so that you can survive. This man becomes something of a job, you know, to you. You understand? And now, since this man is financing you, you are obligated, you know, to do favors for him, even things that you don't want.
And he's paying your bills.
Exactly, even things that you don't want. For example, like you've mentioned, you don't feel like you want to have sex, but now he wants to have sex, and you are in a position where you can't say no because you know he's gonna be angry and he's gonna lose interest in you. He's gonna find someone else. And I've heard some women go through really atrocious and disgusting things, such as what's this golden shower?
What's a golden shower?
It's apparently, yeah.
Apparently, I don't want to hear it. So if you want to know what's a golden shower, maybe Google it.
Golden showers, yeah, golden showers, and yeah, some other things that are quite hectic, you know. So they go through that not because they really want to, but because they feel compelled that they have to. And that really draws the line between consensual sex and rape.
But I think that's where violence comes in as well.
Yeah.
You know, violence will be introduced in some substances, and it also talks about the power dynamics. Because I mean, I can't be giving so much of my money, and you're not bringing anything to the plate. You're not bringing anything to the table. I mean, so at the end of the day, the roles are very hectic. I mean,
but then there are some women who really go to such extreme measures just for the lifestyle.
Have made it a job.
Like
they are so good at it that they just if a blesser comes across, the blesser goes to them immediately.
They know how to. They have the dynamics of it. You know, they
even
know
the dress code, even how they present themselves to the public, how they walk, how they talk, how they dress. You know, it's like a full-time job.
But what do you think should be done though?
Since
it is so wrong and we shouldn't do it, you know.
You know, I don't want to say it's wrong, you know, because some people enjoy it, you know, and for them,
who enjoys it though?
Even the woman,
the blessee or the blesser.
What do they call it? The queen, the
slay queens.
Slay queens.
I think the enjoyment is to a certain extent.
But I think if you do get, I'm not justifying it, you know, but I'm just saying, when we look at a different scenario, if you do get a decent blesser or sugar daddy that's decent, that actually cares for you, I don't think they'll make you do all these horrible things. But you do also get, on the flip side of the coin, you do also get those horrible blessers, those horrible sugar daddies that want you to do disgusting and horrible things that will change you for the rest of your life.
But it's not all doom and gloom, right? What happens to people what about people who meet older men who happen to be wealthy, you know, the likes of Sarah Langa, the likes of Lebu Gunguluza, whose husband is Lebu Gunguluza.
Husband.
Do you understand? So what do you say about that?
That's what I'm saying. Sometimes you do enter into a relationship where you are fortunate enough to actually your partner is loaded or has money. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think when we look at back in the days, people used to date older men way back. It's just that now it has a term called blesser.
It's materialized
it's
now.
Materialized.
It's all about
but
the
I think it's
Guccis.
always been like that, if you think about it.
But
when you look at those old and golden movies,
but that was
I've
about
seen that before.
But that was about companionship more than anything.
But I think it had more the element of companionship.
More than material stuff.
More than material stuff.
It's more frivolous now, and it's very.
It's frivolous.
It's just a show off. I was looking for a term, but I forgot what it is.
But I think if, we can ask ourselves: is this lifestyle sustainable? Is it a sustainable lifestyle? Because you get as a slave queen, you get old, and will you still slave when you are 50?
That's what I was.
But I think you must be smart about it. I think there's a way out.
Before,
I think there's a way out.
If
you decide to be a slave queen in your 20s, I think you must be smart about it. And if you get your golden, I'm not saying do it, but that's what I'm thinking. This could be your ticket out of it. You could actually take some of that money and invest in yourself, so that when you are no longer a slave queen, you have got something to fall back on. So it could be a stepping stone.
They call it a mattress investment. If the blesser blesses you, it's fine. You can buy a Louis Vuitton, but make sure that you have like a 10% nyana that you should
hide. All
hide.
about the material. Think about your future.
Be smart. If you are, if we are not saying we are not saying do it, but if you so happen. If you so happen to fall
and if you are
in that circumstance, then you should be smart about it, Matras investment, like I said, But I feel that the responsibility heavily relies on the person who is in position of power, which is the blesser in this context, right? I feel like they shouldn't take advantage of your vulnerability, and they shouldn't take advantage
That's why
of
they're the blesser.
They shouldn't take advantage of that. Instead, what they should do is empower you, so that you can stand for yourself. You can be independent one day, and not have you become a modern slave.
But I think if you can be a slave queen, if you can be but because sometimes you can be a slave queen but not date sugar daddy. So I don't want it to seem like I'm generalizing. You see,
that's where blessers come in. That's where my definition of blesser came in. You're not necessarily looking for an older guy. You're just looking for a loaded guy. So if that guy happens to be the same age as you and is loaded, that's a blesser to me.
But then there's companionship. You see, my definition spoke about sexual favors and companionship. So if obviously it's more than that, it's more than sexual favors and companionship, then it's a relationship, isn't it? Then it's a relationship.
It is a relationship. However, I suppose power dynamics will always be a problem, but my problem is the power dynamics.
I think power dynamics will be a problem in any relationship.
Yeah,
whether he's a blesser or just an ordinary Joe, it will always be there.
Yeah. So
what I'm saying?
What do you think compels blessers to be blessers?
I think blessers become because they want the sexual favors and they want the companionship, and they are hardcore about it, and they are not compromising.
Is it
and
just
they want
for
you
sex?
To slay, and they want you to be on point, and they want you to be on fleek every day. And
that's the thing. Is it just for sex? You become a blesser just for sex?
I think in some instances that's how it starts. Well, that's how initially it started. It was because of sex and companionship. But then maybe as time, it obviously, if it evolves, as time goes on, if it starts becoming a real relationship, then obviously other dynamics become at play. Other things come into the relationship, like, oh, babes, okay, whatever, I don't know. But
I wonder if there are instances where a person was dating someone just to sponsor their lifestyle, and then it turned into like a real thing. I just wonder.
It happens all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have any examples?
I mean, you date a blesser and think that you a blesser. I know of a person who dated this blesser. Obviously,
we can't mention, by the way.
Yeah, and fell pregnant.
Okay.
from the blesser, and they just decided to make it an official thing, a relationship, and started building a family. So it worked for her.
Okay.
And that's why I'm saying, if you're going to be in a blessee, that's what they call it, right? The
Yeah.
person that's being blessed is a blessee.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a blessee, you better be streetwise about this, because it's hardcore stuff. You need to invest. You might as well take the little money not a little, some is a lot. I'd expect, if I was in that situation, I'd expect a lot of money. I mean, 1,000 rand doesn't even start. You don't come here with 1,000 rand. If I'm the blessee and I'm doing the most to make you happy, don't come here with 1,000 rand. At least 20K going up.
And how would you spend it?
That's why I'm saying you must be smart about it. You must invest in your future, because you're not always going to be a slayer. You won't always want to be pleasing a man that you don't even have feelings for. I mean, you can't build a life on this kind of lifestyle, of sugar daddy lifestyle, blesser. Initially, it's going to run out. Either you're going to tire, you're going to get tired. It's not sustainable. You're going to get tired, or you're going to get old.
And unattractive.
I'm a blesser, will go look for somebody younger than you.
And now that's when reality has to hit you and be like, listen, wake up.
And then where
you
will
need to start doing things for yourself.
Imagine a person giving you 20,000 every week. I mean, say you're 25, by the time you're 30, bruh,
you're tired. It's time to retire.
Mama, I made it. That's what it is.
You know what? In conclusion, don't do it. And if you do it,
be smart about it.
Be smart about it.
Yeah.
Issue. Zaki said you should bet your life. That was one of the best advice. People always have a say what to do. They forget we don't wear the same shoes. I'm taking control. Please don't get involved. Wanna be the greatest of them all. That was one of the best advice. People always have to say what to do. They forget we don't wear the same shoes. I'm taking
What are you doing?
Please don't get involved.
Guys, this is unacceptable. Where's you? I'm not a snitch. You're not a snitch. Tell me to come and see me in my office when you get there.
Be the greatest of them all. The stumble is not the fall. Utanungele lupa manditini konjo. Adisu vanga we. Sugu na semini ngu. Adisu vanga we. Utanungele lupa manditini konjo. Adisu vanga we. Sugu na semini ngu. Adisu vanga we. Utanungele lupa manditini konjo. Adisu vanga we. Sugu na semini ngu. Adisu vanga we. Utanungele lupa manditini konjo. Adisu vanga we. Sugu na semini ngu. Adisu vanga we. Adisu vanga we. Adisu vanga we. Sugu na semini ngu. Adisu vanga we. Adisu vanga we. Adisu vanga we. Sugu na semini ngu. Adisu vanga we. Issue.